Hello and welcome to a very special live Q&A with Paul and Sam Blake. Very excited to see what we get chatting about. So welcome. It's nice to see you. Thank you very much for taking the time out. I understand you'll be very busy at this time of everything that's going on. How have you found lockdown?
Crikey, weird, strange. Trying to get 100 days in today, isn't it?
Yeah, 100 days today. Yeah.
It's been mind-boggling, to say the
100
least.
days today.
100 days today. I think no one really saw this coming by any stretch of the imagination, apart from the big films that kind of have the contagions and all the rest of them. But yeah, kind of trying to do what we can day by day, and might be gardening or painting or cooking. But I guess that's like majority of the rest of the population.
Yeah, trying to find something to occupy your mind so you don't go crazy, I think is the motto, isn't it? Yeah,
it's the first time we've actually had time off, isn't it, really?
in 20 years. It's our half-time break.
Plenty more to come though, yeah?
We've got another 20, yeah. That fills you with dread, doesn't it?
We've got a garden, so we can't, I couldn't imagine doing this without having outdoor space. And my heart goes out to anyone who doesn't have a garden, and we've been lucky with the weather, although not in the past couple of days, but in all we have been quite lucky to be able to sit out and actually enjoy some rays. You been okay?
Yeah, we've been great, similar. So we've got a garden, so we've been quite lucky with that. I think some people might have really struggled if there's, you see them in the high-rise flats and things like that.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, but it's not easy with 3 kids, but we're managing. So what I did on our social media is I kind of put out some posts to say if anyone's got any questions, let us know, and I've tried to kind of weave them in seamlessly to a nice conversation. Any I haven't managed to get, I've just popped at the end. Any that didn't kind of fit. Some strange questions, mine, so get ready.
Great.
So can you just start by kind of introducing your roles very briefly that you have with the Eagles, just for those who might not know exactly what it is that you do?
You want to go first?
Sure. So I came into the business, I say 20 years ago. At the time I was working at Northumberland University and working in elite sport, but came into the club to really have a concentrated effort on starting participation in basketball. Personally came through a swim development program where you literally had from shrimps to all the way through to the big adult squad, senior squad, and you had the whole pathway structure there to be able to excel. And having met Paul a couple of years prior, couldn't quite understand why that wasn't available in the sport of basketball. So I came in to really give back to what I'd had as a kid. So my whole 20 years have been about participation and actual development and providing that opportunity, and what really benefited me in my childhood and broadened my horizons as a kid. So hence, sorry, the answer to your question is all that period of time, obviously we set up the foundation, and my current position is the Chief Executive of the foundation, which has the arena subsidiary in the foundation. So we own the arena as well. So that's been the major business development over the past few years.
And then obviously you've got the club that sits alongside it, and that's me. So I'm chairman of the foundation and obviously majority owner of the club, although I'm not the singular owner. There are 2 shareholders, myself and a chap called Ken Nottage, who was my boss at the Newcastle United Sporting Club. It was Ken that really enabled me to take the club on, coming out of his role as chief executive of the sporting club. You know, the story goes that Sir John Hall didn't want any of the teams to fold, so we were sort of tasked with trying to find a way to keep them all three, the rugby, the basketball, and the ice hockey alive. And part of that scenario was the two of us thought it might be a good idea to take the basketball club on. The rest is history. So Ken's still involved. He's based down in Gloucester, or just outside of Gloucester, and you know, he's a long-time BBL legend in his own right. You know, fantastic player for Sunderland and other clubs, stretching back to the late 70s, early mid 80s into the early 90s. But yeah, so the two organisations run alongside each other. We set the foundation up in, I think I'm going to say 2005, and then obviously the arena's come along more recently, as you know. And yeah, what started off as trying to save what was essentially a failed basketball club coming out of the sporting club era, turning that around and then adding the additional organisations alongside, been a bit of a journey.
Yeah, because I don't think people kind of fully understand kind of how much a role the foundation plays in the kind of whole makeup of the Newcastle Eagles. Because the more I've read about it, the more kind of the more it comes across that it's a huge part of the whole Eagles. And I don't think many people kind of fully appreciate the work that goes on with the foundation.
It's massive, but no foundation, no Eagles.
Yeah.
As simple as that. There's just no way that the club was going to find a way to build an audience base and a market for the sport in the area without the outreach work, which is encapsulated now in the foundation. And in the early days, it was all sat within the club. The community coaches and the outreach work was all sat within the club, and we chose to move to set up a charity and move that all into the charity to have a bit of a separation from the club back in 2005. But that work and the network and the community that is part of that is huge. Really, really sizable now, and you know, a good, if not all, a good chunk of the base of the community participation come to games. You know, are long-time Eagles fans or new to the game, or
you know, there's people at games that you've seen grow up. You know, they're coming as little kids, and you know, now maybe they're referees or officials or coaches or volunteers, or their parents. They're having the next generation come through. I do think for me that's the massive charm of what we have. We do call it an Eagles family, and you know, it's very personal. You know, I love the fact that there's such a nice social atmosphere to what we've kind of grown. But it wouldn't be any of this wouldn't have been possible with everyone who's been on this path. And sometimes it's kind of, you know, at stages they're on the path, or you know, they've been with us for the duration. But it's been an absolute army of people who've kind of come on that journey really, and supported and understood what we're all trying to achieve. And that's what I think, that's probably what the proudest thing I am, to be honest, is there's so many people who have wanted for this to succeed. And that, you know, in your young 20s, as we were when we started this journey, it felt quite isolated.
I was 9. What do you think about it?
It did feel quite lonely though, didn't it, at the beginning? It was, you know, whereas now it's amazing how many people are around the foundation, the arena, and the club. And you know, it's kind of, it feels, you know, we've always kind of said it needs to have a, if we weren't around, you know, if anything happened, it has to continue. And it feels as if there are hands, you know, safe hands by a lot of people in this area who really want to support and make it sustainable and to see it there in the future. And hopefully the arena is that last piece of the jigsaw.
And you're right, it doesn't get, the foundation's work doesn't get the PR and the press that the BBL team you know, gets more of.
I'd say also the foundations, we probably don't get the recognition that others do, I would say.
No, it's the same. It's the same with any kind of grassroots participation. It's not, for whatever reason, it's not seen as consistently press worthy. Mm-hmm. Who knows why? But the fact is, it's our particular story in the program that sits below the BBL and the WBBL teams is you know, one of the biggest in the country, and particularly from a sort of a single club based program to have a you know, participation base and nearly 100 teams playing every weekend at the venue, from under 8s now through to under 18s is a, you know, a great achievement, and that only happens with a big volunteer base to help knit it all together.
Yeah, I heard Russell Levinson from Leicester the other day talking about kind of copying the Eagles model of the kind of foundation, like the grassroots stuff, and he kind of was speaking very highly of yourself and kind of the support you've given him. How important is it to involve, like, to support other BBL clubs and teams across the country to kind of improve that side of the clubs?
Every club's in a different place, different evolution in terms of the number of years that they've been operating, different ownership setups, different venues. So that we're all coming at it from slightly different angles, but as I said in the podcast the other day on Hootsfix, we all get on really well, and we all absolutely bounce off each other and try to take good practice where we can. You know, we built a program during a slightly different era to the one we're in now. We built this program across the 2000s. It might be a bit harder to do that now. I'm being diplomatic. So clubs coming in to try and replicate that model when the grant system that we had under a Labour government doesn't exist to the same extent now. Support for sport has changed. I'm not saying it's less, but it's changed. So to try and build a model at a regional level in the same way is a bit more difficult now. So we're all trying to attack it in different ways. What
I would say is we are good at sharing good practice.
Yeah, 100%.
And you know, for us, that was kind of sharing Hoops for Health, which was our first big program, and it still exists to date. And that really has been a major catalyst in the foundation to actually drive participation numbers with exit routes into local community clubs. And that was given to the league and the governing body by us to actually drive forward the sport across the UK, rather than holding on to it. So for us, it's sharing good practice is really important. So we work with Leicester a lot with the arena. You know, they're a year and a half in more than we are.
They're ahead of us. Yeah.
And you know, Kevin and Dave have been amazing, very supportive. You know, Dave spent so much time up at ECA and supporting us on practices and getting those cues down on match nights, most importantly, and having making sure that the customer experience is there. And you know, I'm You know, I could literally pick the phone up and ask a question, and the same the other way. But you know, other teams do, you know, like Sheffield with their enterprise project. The sharing of good practice is really important amongst us, so we can all learn from each other. And like Paul said, we are slightly different, but I do think we're all trying to achieve the same thing. And sometimes it's, well, I'd say probably all the time, it's good to be slightly different, because you do come at it from a different angle.
Yeah, but it's it's a good situation, and we're on, you know, in this world of Zoom. Other platforms are available, but in this world of Zoom, we're actually funnily talking as a group of clubs a lot more regularly again. I mean, well, more regularly than we ever have, because we're on a weekly call now. Which
you're not getting in the car.
I'm not getting in the car driving to Leicester once every 5 or 6 weeks. So I think that's going to help even more now that we're sort of culturally accepting that's a way to do things.
So one of the questions we had was about the foundation. Obviously, you loads of different kind of initiatives from the Hoops of Health to other things going on. Have you got one that you are most proud of, or one that you think like has been the most successful?
Question to answer for me.
Not for me.
Isn't there? What was yours?
Club development and the Central Venue League.
If you see that as one, then I'm going to.
You'll say Hoops for Health.
I would say Hoops for Health only because that was day one, and with that program and the support of Newcastle City Council, support of Dr. Graham Wilkes, we wouldn't have got up and running. Eugene Mill, Director of Public Health, we wouldn't have been up and running with the community program. So for me, it all stems back to day one. Me and Deidre, who I still miss terribly, of us sitting down and literally, you know, planning out the community program, and Hoops for Health started everything for me. So yeah.
Yeah, the numbers for the amount of children involved in Hoops for Health is like, I think the thing I've seen from a couple of years ago, but it's over 7,000 children involved across the Hoops for Health program, and it's just as we said before, it's just such an amazing feat.
It's about, to me, it's about getting positive messages out, positive role models on, you know, so many health messages that we've delivered in the past. It's smart because it links in with current needs for that community. So it could be working with, let's say, Gateshead Housing in particular, who are one of our supporters. And Gateshead, it could be that there's a certain element of health that we need to look at and work with the youngsters of that age range, or it could be even this community, the rates have come out particularly high for I want to say diabetes, you know, bit of a, you know, hot potato at the moment in terms of health. So we're actually going to concentrate on this geographical patch on diabetes prevention and actually just awareness. And we actually can do that in Hoops for Health. I know we've done dentistry because of the amount of youngsters who are going and getting teeth pulled out from sugary drinks.
No smoking.
No smoking was back in the day. Very historic. Obviously, food.
Diversity.
Yes, we've done stereotypes and you know, how you view someone, which has been really interesting again. But I love the flexibility with it. I love the role models with the women and the men's players. I love that community program, back it up with the coach and the tournament, and everyone comes to the arena with the final. We have a big celebration for every council. But don't get me wrong, the clubs and the league are kind of the end result, and that's why we set it all up. So that's a really tough one.
Yeah, so it is. You're absolutely right. It's the key base to the foundation's pyramid, if that makes sense. So, but equally, in terms of generating awareness of the club as well, that's been the number one project, because I mean, we're nearly 20 years of delivering Hoops for Health, and it's been between 7,000 and 10,000 kids every year for all 20 years, or maybe the first 2. So you're going to be talking over 150,000 young people have been through the program.
The Eagles, aware of the program.
And some of those young people are nearly 30 now. So, and of course I'm only 29. So, so that all, I mean, it's a win-win really. You know, it's a win to introduce the sport to young people, to point a route way for them to join a club, which is, you know, the next part in the pyramid. But equally, as they're going through this journey, they're learning about the club as well, and that was always the goal, to build the profile and awareness of the club in this area. And if we hadn't have done that, number one, the club wouldn't be in existence now. No chance, not a chance commercially. And there's a base and a market, essentially, people in this immediate area that know who we are that didn't 20 years ago.
And I always say because obviously for Hoops for Health, it's, you know, it's both BBL and WBBL teams who go out. And I always say to them, they're part of a legacy, because there'll be players in the future who will say, I remember when. And the amount of times I've heard that, I remember when, you know, Temba, I remember when. And that's for me is the really powerful part that they're playing in, you know, kind of getting the message out that basketball opportunities are there, and you can literally now, as a player, which, you know, wasn't there to begin with, but now as a player you can be from 6 years of age and you can go all the way through to the Bald Eagles on a Sunday at the arena, and you know, you can constantly play. And if you want to get to GB, there's a route. If you want to play for fun and for social, there's a route. You know, it's amazing what every person who's been on this journey has actually established. It's a massive credit to everyone.
And obviously the performance route, the academy, sits above the club development program, which sits above Hoops for Health. That makes sense. That's your journey, or your performance journey. And the academy's, you know, done amazingly well in its own evolution. You know, there was a time where we would want to try and work out how we can beat Manchester Magic, thinking that we would never ever get there. And you know, this last couple of years, particularly this season, in one or two of the age groups, we are matching them. You know, I think we're second to their first in one of the age groups on the boys' side. So to be able to say that when actually we were in the division below for you know, and programs like Manchester's performance program that's been held up high for many years is great. You know, so it's all progress. And the key is, which has been a difficult square to circle for a number of basketball organisations in this country for 30, 40 years, is how do you keep doing it? How to keep it going for 20 years and longer? Because as you know, we have a history of clubs not lasting that long. So we've done it. You know, I think we've got the model, or a model.
The model that works for the North East, I think.
Yeah.
So, or has worked. But you know, it's kind of the more you talk about it, the more, you know. Just before lockdown, I went to Central Venue and spent the day, and I came out with an absolute lump in my throat, because, you know, it's unbelievable to watch a group of people who either come into the sport or come through the sport who are taking that Central Venue League on, and they're running it. They're pure ownership over it, making sure that things are working well, and you know, everyone genuinely wants a Saturday to be perfect. Sometimes it's not, but that's just running leagues. but they're just absolutely in it for the right reasons, and you know, kind of to be able to have this massive army of people who are there and supportive and really, you know, in the scheme of things.
There are staff there that did Hoops for Health.
Yeah. But it's just, honestly, I'm just humbled by it. So I really am.
And then how important
I'm answering every single program nearly.
We'll promote them all.
I know we could talk for days with you about all the different programs. How important was the new arena for the foundation then, for the CVL leagues and things like that? How much of a difference did that make?
Oh, it's really weird, isn't it? Because when we started on this journey, if you think all the way back, we never thought we would be building something ever.
Be bigger than little.
Yeah, we were, you know, we were just renting every hour of every building we possibly could and be thankful for it.
Still are.
And
Still are. That hasn't stopped. The outreach hasn't stopped.
No, but in terms of having a house, having a home, an Eagles home, yeah. How do you put that into words?
I mean, we're over 18 months in now, aren't we? And we still can't get my head around it. Yeah, it's a labour of love, isn't it? So it's a shame to go there today and you know, not be able to see it set up for match nights, or you know, have people in the building and have lots of things going on, but equally it's still there. So come the time that we're able to, I'm pretty confident we'll be able to get it back up and moving again, no problem at all. But it's a complete game changer in the sense that we've just got a level of control over our own destiny, if that makes sense, which we never had. You know, I love Newcastle Arena. Had some great times there. You know, got on really well with the staff. Colin Revel, the arena director, really looked after us. You know, there were times that he helped us when we were wobbling. So you know, that sort of, for me, that was a 14-year period in itself, before we moved to Sports Central. So the guys at Sports Central and the university were great as well. You know, very supportive in lots of different ways. But I think everybody recognised that for the model to work properly, we needed to be in our own place. So yeah, I mean, there's lots of exciting things to come. I think lots of future possibilities with events at the venue that we haven't explored yet. We've just sort of tipped our toe in the water, if you like, with the GB game, and I had some pretty big events penciled that I can't tell you about, that are postponed for now, which is a bit frustrating. But you know, at least we can say we've got the whole future to work that out, and you know, if it's a year's time or 2 years' time or 5 years' time for that to come to fruition, we've got control of that, which we didn't before.
So how long has the vision been there for the arena? Was it very early on in your time at the Eagles, like wanting your own arena?
I can't remember.
I can remember.
Go on.
We kind of talked about it when we were in our last year at the arena, before we made the move, and we went on holiday, and we came back and we had a meeting penciled in with a really lovely chap, Roy Stanley, and we went to meet someone that we'd never met before, and we just had a chat about it, and Roy just got it. He instantly understood what we were trying to achieve, and we could see what had been achieved, and the limitations on what we could achieve if we didn't have our own building, and what community impact actually this would have. And we came out of that meeting thinking, right, this might actually have a chance.
I suppose most importantly, he didn't try to put us off. He didn't.
No.
He didn't. Didn't talk negatively. He didn't say, "Oh, have you thought about this? Might this will be hard and that will be hard." He was just super positive.
Yeah.
He's kind of a guy that has always broken down walls himself, and that enthused us, I think. So he was quite instrumental in the early few years of trying to get the project moving. And there was another chap and I'll never forget this meeting, was the meeting where I introduced Roy to a chap called John Lee, who was chief exec of Your Homes Newcastle at the time. And actually, the land that we're on was somewhat under the auspices of Your Homes Newcastle, because the flats on that site are all Your Homes Newcastle flats, YHM flats. So we knew John a little bit anyway. We've been working with John, and John has done a bit of work, engagement, some community programs with us, and so that was quite a nervous day, bringing the two of them together, because they're both very big characters, trying to sort of promote the vision to both of them, to get them both on board. And I mean, to be honest, John was just in from day one. He
got it. So you
totally got it.
Totally got it. Understands the community aspect, that what we didn't want was a building that opened 24 times a year and then just the odd events on top. This was a 7 days a week benefiting the community, and us really getting embedded in the West End, and kind of going back to where we were when we were at the arena, and that was our local community, and that meant a lot to us to actually be in the West End of Newcastle.
Yeah, so I mean, we not to forget many other names that.
Well, there's so many. Honestly,
helped us along the way, but John and Roy.
And so many meetings where we knew going in that we were going in for people to try and talk us back to doing this.
Yeah. Sue Cumming, one of our trustees, Sue at the council.
All of our trustees, just everyone. Honestly, we couldn't have done this without the people and the council and the funders that came on board, and again got it. They got the ambition of what was being trying to achieve.
Andrew Hodgson.
Yeah, there's so many, honestly. And Mike Clark, and where do we start? Yeah, there's absolutely loads. I would say for me, the two things that got me, and that was obviously the first game, the fact that we were sold out and the buzz around the place. We were still lifting plywood at 3:30.
Oh. That was a ridiculous game.
Obviously, we've never ran an event. We've never sold.
It wasn't just that. The carpet that goes around the core, that got delivered. I'm going to say that got delivered about 1 o'clock that afternoon. Bless him, Les and Stu got straight onto it, started cutting the carpet into shape to fit around the court. The guys are still working on the seats. I think they left the building at. Yeah, we had to get a cherry picker out of the building. I think they were working on the seats until the last bit of the season until 3 o'clock that day.
And obviously we had all the food and beverage. We had the kitchen in full mode with all the students in, making sure the food has been cooked.
Never done any of that before.
Well, kind of. That didn't obviously have a soft opening or any kind of fire.
So 300 people in hospitality. Yeah. We've never served 10 people before, let alone 300.
But the thing that got me was we couldn't. Fortunately, we couldn't have everyone there that we wanted. We'd lost 2 people on the way, who got a very special mention, and rightly so, that evening, by Fab. I didn't want to because I knew I'd break down. So Fab kind of took over and got me in a bit of an emotional wreck. And just to see everyone that had turned out, and as special as it was for all of us, I knew it was special for so many people in that building. And that's what really got me. So I literally walked out, and I hadn't been out and seen people in the seats because we were just everywhere in the arena, back of the house. And I walked out on the balcony, and that was it. Everyone was just grabbing me. I'm in tears, and the atmosphere was nuts. Come back the next morning, because we had a break down and we didn't leave till really late. And everyone mucked in, which again is just
that was
amazing.
the first time as well. We've done breakdowns at the arena, central, but we didn't have we had a route map for those places, but we didn't for this because it was the first time. So I think we were going to have to in the morning. Yeah. And
I woke up and I was so excited, obviously, for the Saturday, because that's when the foundation activities start. I jumped in the car, ran in the building, and again out on the balcony, and that one it just hit me. Absolutely, like a wave hit me. To see the balcony full of parents, loads of kids on the court, everyone out there refereeing, coaching, and table of it. That was, to me, we did it. We did it.
Bizarrely, everything worked. No, I don't mean worked in the sense of there were no queues, all of these things, and we'll spend the next 5 years working on solutions for those. But we were worried about the electricity going. Halfway through the game, we have a
no lights.
we have a power cut, or the cooker in the kitchen goes.
The alarm goes off.
We have to do an evacuation.
Everything that we kind of don't want to happen. But the subcontractors, the M&E came along and they stayed with us for that night, along with the AV. So they made sure they made sure that everything was okay, because it was important to them to make sure it was good, because they knew what a big night and the building what it meant.
The sound system. That's the sound system out of the arena. But when Northern Rock sponsored us, they bought that.
We couldn't afford
for
a new
us.
one.
We put that into the arena, took it out of the arena, put it into Sports Central, took it out of Sports Central, and put it up in our place. So we've had that sound system for a long time. So that's which I think sounds great in the new venue, better than anywhere else. But you look up at one of the speakers and there's a bit hanging from one, which I keep meaning I've got to try and get up there and tidy that up. Sorry, we're giving you long answers.
Well, these are good. It's good answers. Good answers. You've answered loads of the questions within there, because one of the questions was about that CVL League first day, like the feeling that you had. But you obviously talked about that wave of emotion just for the first time.
Honestly, it was amazing, and kind of, it's just to kind of say, it's hard to express sometimes, isn't it? For me, it was everyone else's reaction when I walked in terms of how they were enjoying it. People were at the cafe, they were getting the coffees and the teas, and it's kind of, not on the first one because we didn't know about the first one, but they have subsequently. But it's kind of how everyone has just taken to that building, and we've always wanted to empower, because what the Eagles is about isn't about an individual. It's always been about everyone. Anyone who is involved in whatever way, you're part of the Eagle family, and that's what I've seen in this building from day one. People taking that ownership.
Right. So a lot of the questions are about like recruitment and player recruitment, obviously. When does that process start, and who's involved in that? The kind of recruiting of the BBL players, WBBL players, who's involved?
On the BBL side, it's kind of a never-ending process, and it's obviously just changed a little bit with without going to Toronto. So, so our number one talent scout recruiter is Mr. Dave Forrester. has been for many years. Goodness, I can't even think when we when Dave sort of got engaged in that side of things. Very, very early on, I think. I'm going to go back probably pre-2005 even, with me, but that was very much sort of linking up with me at the time, and then more and more with Fab as Fab got into his coaching role. So Dave's been the primary player recruiter, player finder for the club for a number of years. Obviously now Ian's in his role. That's something that Ian feels is important for him to fully engage in as well. It was something Fab was less engaged in, but Fab was more important in the he's the right guy, he's not the right guy role. You know, very, very good judge of character and what he felt we needed at the time. And I suppose you've got to say he got that right, didn't he? Given the record. So yeah. So I'm around the edges of it. I have to be aware. You know, there's very few players I don't become aware of by the guys, but I don't. I absolutely don't get involved in the final decision, because you know that's the coach's role at the end of the day. You don't want the owner telling you. For me, you don't want the owner telling you who should be at the club. And different clubs have different cultures, and it works slightly differently in Europe, other parts of the world. But for us, that's the way it's worked. So yeah, so that's how we do recruitment.
So
WBBL.
When would the Eagles start?
Sorry.
Their signings. Sorry, like when's the kind of start of the announcements of players arriving?
For next season?
Yeah.
Well, we're a little bit in the dark with that at the moment in terms of knowing when the season's going to start. But we are actively recruiting, and you'll see from club announcements that clubs are announcing player signings. So, and every year, just because we haven't press released doesn't mean we haven't signed or are close to signing. But one thing's for sure, we'll never release on a player that where the ink isn't on the contract.
Yeah.
So it might just be that agreements have been made and that signature just hasn't come through for whatever reason. And we also like to spread out these stories rather than press release the whole team on one press release and have one story. We like to have a roll of stories throughout the summer. So sometimes it might look like it's a bit last minute, but it isn't.
No.
Very rarely is. So I've got. I meant to mention as well. WBBL recruitment is Holy Chris Bunton. Holy Chris, who's absolutely got his finger on the pulse on that side of things. And that's a fairly new one in some respects for us, although we were always involved in the Team Northumbria team to one extent or another, and that was something that came from Deirdre Hayes. It was actually, you know, historically it was Deirdre's club, the old South Tyneside club that morphed into what was then Team Northumbria and is now Newcastle Eagles. So, yeah, that answer the question?
Yeah. So just mention the WBBL team there. Obviously, it's been a couple of seasons now that have been kind of under the Newcastle Eagles kind of banner. Was that an easy decision to make when Team Northumbria was kind of changing the structure or whatever happened with their sports teams? Was that an easy?
Not an easy decision at all. Very hard decision. And equally, at the time, we were asked whether we could take on the men's team as well, the NBL, the EBL1 team. Unfortunately, we just, in reality, it's been very difficult to afford to take on one of them, let alone both. And we just felt that if we were going to do any at all, the WBBL team fitter pathway that we are trying to put more time and attention into on the girls and women's side, and on the men's side, because we already had an under 23s team in D3, and obviously the BBL team as well. You know, it was a step too far to take the men's on as well. So and time goes on, you know, and I don't know if people are aware of this or not, but our current nursery team, i.e. the team that players from BBL can move up and down from, mainly up, and it's got its restrictions, is actually now Newcastle University. And the Newcastle University team under Mark Elderkin have just been promoted to BBL 1. So strangely, the relationship has come back full circle, but with the other university. Mm-hmm. And the season that Tosan played for Newcastle Uni, that was purely a decision from Ian McLeod to say BBL is not the right place for him to be this season before potentially going off to the States. Eagles 18s is not the right situation for him, and Eagles 23s and D3 is not the right situation for him. The right situation is Newcastle Uni. So he played that season in what was, I think, EBL 1 then. It's only 2 seasons ago, wasn't it? Terrible memory. And you know, that's proved correct, because his trajectory for GB18s and his move to Princeton, not Harvard, as I said in the podcast the other week. Oh, dearie me. It's amazing, you know, and that encapsulates for us everything that we're trying to do. I mean, he's a super talent. Mm-hmm. You know, he's got a tremendous future ahead of him, and I don't think it'd be unfair to any other player to say he's absolutely the most talented young individual to come through the program to date. So
we've got one in the next couple of weeks on the Instagram page, so that'll be interesting to hear from him.
I'll tell him what I said.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Want him back in 3 years' time.
Definitely.
I think he's great.
So, Paul, was it 99 you started the Eagles?
No, so I joined Newcastle United Sporting Club in 97.
Right.
The Eagles actually started in 96. Hang on, let me go back a step here. Yeah. 97, 98, 96, 97. Yeah, 96. Comets the year before that. So the football club bought the Comets after its first year at the arena. And I came into the sporting club, Newcastle United Sporting Club, in its second season, 97, 98 season. Then took the club over in 99. So, so I've been involved since 97, but ownership since 99.
Quite a few of the questions, how people could support the club, the foundation. Obviously, current times are tricky to put it mildly. What support can kind of the average fan give to the foundation, to the club?
Good question. Good opportunity for a plug here. We're about to launch a crowdfunding appeal for the WBBL team tomorrow, because we have some support from the local enterprise partnership who will match any funds raised. So whether you can put £5 in or £50, whatever it is, it will go to running the WBBL franchise in the coming season. On the men's side, it's as much a pledge as anything else at the moment. Season tickets are obviously on sale. If that's too big a push right now, there's merchandising still on sale. We've got the 25-year T-shirt that's there and selling very well. The foundation has a
obviously we've got lots of ways you can support the foundation, and it's, you know, donations are amazing, and we have had a lot of donations over the past 3 months, which has been incredibly kind and quite humbling, to be honest. The message of support that we've had, I think it really does go a long way to reassure us that we're, you know, doing what we're doing is the right thing. I do think there's lots of ways. Obviously, there's donations that can be given, but also booking birthday
How do you
parties.
give a donation?
Oh, there's a link on the club website.
Through the foundation.
The Just Giving website, so you can do Just Giving, which would be amazing. But you know, if you want to bring a birthday party, if you want to book the Brian Manning Suite, if you you know, want to look at a family get together, if you want to look at just playing some basketball once we're allowed to open and come along and rent the court, or playing badminton or netball or volleyball, or getting involved in the development work. So if you think about coaching or officiating or refereeing or administrating, there's different ways you can get involved there and growing the sport and giving time back. And you know, ex-players are brilliant because they've got a fantastic understanding of the sport, but also parents who are bought into wanting to give back, or grandparents, or any family members, or anyone who's just out there with interest who wants to get involved. We will get you qualified to give back. Now, you might not want to do any of those, but you might say, you know something, I've got a trade, and I can plaster, or I can paint, or I can put a floor down, or I can, anything arena, I can come and weed, I can do anything that, you know, I can give an hour a week. Anything, there's always something that needs doing there. So there's so many ways that you can help the foundation.
No, you did really well there. But actually, just bringing to mind as much as anything, you mentioned Brian Manning,
Yes.
Brian Manning Suite. So for those that aren't aware, it's the Brian Manning Suite because we named it after Brian, who was.
I always think everyone knows Brian.
Yeah,
but you're
yeah.
right.
Take
Not
it for
everyone
granted
knows
sometimes.
Brian.
So Brian was chief exec of Esh Group, who've obviously been our club main sponsor and foundation supporter for 10 years. Brian sadly passed away a few years ago, and Brian was equally our mentor, really, in the not just the build, and obviously Esh built the building, but in all parts of the business, just a shoulder to cry on, and yeah, just there in many different ways. And Brian's family as well. So Sue and Sarah and Wes and the kids still come to games now. You know, very big supporters of the club.
You know, sometimes see Sue and Sarah behind the bar volunteering.
Yeah.
On events.
Yeah. So they're very, very important to us, and that's why we thought it was the right thing to do to name the suite of Brian, because again, you know, alongside Roy and John, who sort of set the fire moving on the build side, or set the inspiration. Brian was already there, you know. He was already involved with the club at that.
And if there's kind of people that you meet in your life who, if you're fortunate to have a good family and, you know, very supportive parents, they're a big part of that journey. And then there's people that you meet on that path who have really influential kind of influences in how you are as a person, and how you, I would say Brian made us better. That's kind of the best I can say it. That's probably the biggest compliment I can give Brian. You know, there's times where he would literally just sit down with us, and, you know, the clock was never on, and the coffee was always coming, and he would make sure that we were okay. You know, and the door was always open. And Sue, you know, I know I could, you know, I can go and have a chin wag with Sue, and, you know, she'll always be there and give that support. And there are, you know, I do call them angels, which some people probably really disagree with, but I do think you meet angels in your lifetime, and it's how they influence your direction and the path you're meant to take. And we were meant to do this. And I think Brian, you know, we lost him just as he turned 60, which was quite a shock to everyone. But without Brian, this would not have happened. You know, he was. There's
so many people.
There are.
You know, there's so many. We're not. You know, there's people that say we sat there thinking, "Oh, you didn't mention me."
Probably. I'm really sorry.
We're very guilty for not. I mean, I could reel a few more off here right now. Yeah, it's a team effort, that's for sure.
Right, got some of the more random questions now. Okay, so someone put on Twitter, I think it was, about the names of the stands in the arena, so north, east, south, west, and the question was, would it be a thing to name them after former club legends, or alter the names in some way? Has that ever been a consideration, or?
I would probably say that I would really appreciate a company coming forward and sponsoring the stands to make our path a little bit easier. You know, just in terms of getting back up on our feet with the arena and the bills haven't stopped. You know, the bills don't stop even though you should. So for me, I would love to have 4 companies say, I would like to sponsor your stand for the next 12 months, please. That's what I would like to do, which maybe won't go down so well with the fans, but it all gets put back into driving everything forward. And we've got a lot of catch up to do as a result of being shut for this period of time.
I do understand that, because it's obviously something that happens at football grounds. And we don't want to sound like we want to be the something St James's Park. But we need, unfortunately, the world we're in, we really need to be. So so there's a business imperative there. What we should be doing, we literally just haven't got around to it, and it's a logistical exercise as much as anything else, is obviously we had the banners at the arena, at Sports Central, commemorating past players, and we need to do that here.
I really like when we had the Union Jack and the Germany flags up on the far wall. I thought that looked amazing.
Yeah, so we've actually found a way to do it ultimately, that we were off the back of doing those flags that we thought we were going to struggle with a little bit. We've got to be a bit careful as well, because we've got lots of different events in the venue. There will be events that come in that don't want those things up, so we've got to find a way to get them down easily, and that's not straightforward. Takes some work to get things out of the ceiling in our place. So I'd always wanted, as part of the build, I'd always wanted to make sure that we put a walkway up in the roof, because we saw the problems at Sports Central, and we saw the problems at Newcastle Arena. We just never got to a point where where it was going to be feasible to do it. So what we do know is we need to we've got pictures around the building, but we need more of them. We need them to better explain who the players are in those. So that's all to come. They're all interchangeable, and equally, I think I know we need to do more in the main hall itself. Retired, a Hall of Fame needs to get up and running again.
Yeah,
I've been waiting to do that. It's there. I've been waiting to do it. It's just I'm not saying it's been put on the back burner, but
like upstairs, isn't it? The breakout space. They keep saying it's so plain. It's just white walls, and we're saying it's got no branding on it. It'd be really cool, because during the weekend when we've got events on, you actually don't realise what it turns into when it's an arena. So it'd be really cool to have kind of like a really fisheye kind of photograph with the arena set up.
The unplaying thing is about to be reintroduced. I've got to get DJ and Leonard's a new version of what we had up at Sports Central in place, and then we'll start to introduce an opportunity to vote for others moving forward. There'll be some obvious ones, clearly, in the early days. A number of whom have been interviewed in the recent finals games that have been on YouTube. So yes, it's not been forgotten. Not being forgotten.
Right, this next one is something that gets asked to all the people we have on. I've no idea why, but I started it, so I think I'll keep it going. Pineapple on a pizza, yes or no?
Yeah.
It's wrong. Wrong.
A nice bit of ham.
There you go, disagreement. I like it. I like it. I guess I kind of want to finish with this last question. So, if you could pick one standout moment from the last 20 years, and maybe it's the biggest challenge that you've faced. You can pick two if you want.
I'll pick one and then immediately realise that was the wrong one.
Yeah.
I always do that. Always, I'm not quick on my feet with things like this. I have answered this before though.
I don't know where you're going to come from, what angle you're going to kind of come from.
Well, from a team perspective, obviously winning the first trophy was something else. That was a bit crazy. Going to the first final was amazing as well. Even though we lost it with Tony G against Cheshire. That was 2001. So I'm reading the load off now already. The one that I think felt most proud of, actually it's two, was I'll finish mine first. So was taking the team to Wembley for a final, because I used to go to Wembley as a kid to go and watch the Carlsberg League prior to BBL finals on a school trip. So to actually take a team somewhere I went as a kid to watch the basketball finals was a bit crazy. But then that was trumped by the O2, that first final at the O2. We were just saying all day, we can't believe our little club's playing in this building. Well, you kept saying that more than me, I think. So there you go. That one became 5, I think, there, didn't it? I'll think of some more in a minute.
It's better to have more than none, isn't it? I mean, it just shows how good a time we've had.
And yours?
It is really hard. It's really hard. I think I'm going to say one of the probably. I'm going to say possibly non-committal. Would be year 1 of Hoops for Health. When we finished, we delivered to 33 schools, and we had never done this before. The project was really quite unique for its time, to be tackling health inequality issues based around really what at the time was smoking cessation, nutrition, all about the heart and the lungs and the need for cardiovascular exercise, along with the sport of basketball. Never been done, to have role models, to work with so many different departments within the hospital trust and the council. And we put out a questionnaire, and I didn't know it was going to come back. The questionnaire went out to all the schools to literally, no, don't put your name on, don't be really, you can just put what you want to put on here, because we need to learn from it. And I was so nervous about getting it back, and it came back about changes and what they wanted to see, and everyone loved it. And that honestly, what do you remember at the time?
Yeah.
Taking it to the council to say we aced it. That was the start of us actually having the potential to drive the community program in the direction we wanted to, and we've proven that there was a demand from the schools and also from youngsters who wanted to play the sport. And off the back of that, our first community club started, and that's when the whole of the development program stemmed from. That was kind of, you know, kind of the start of that whole bubbling of basketball participation in the northeast.
And that was Benfield Club at Benfield Centre for Sport, which is now called Newcastle Eagles. And that's 20 years old.
So that was kind of really early, and for me, because that was pivotal to how we were going to progress things and actually what direction we were going to go in, and you know, kind of the fact that the hospital trust and the council actually went, you know, something, you guys have got something here. So we're in with you.
Yeah, we didn't know a lot about the council and how the council worked either at the time, did we? You know, we're very, very close to very many departments, and you know, right from the chief exec and the leader of the council all the way through. Now, you know, got a great relationship with Newcastle City Council. They've been brilliant.
Yeah, they have. We wouldn't exist without.
No chance.
Without
No chance.
Whole partnership. You know, and if we've got like Paul was saying earlier, unfortunately we've got we thought we come because of coronavirus. And we'll see what happens in the future. But that's the first call that goes into the council of, guys, we might have this event, what's your thoughts? And to actually have that relationship, that's amazing. That's incredible to have that support coming from our council.
I've got two more best memories. The Plymouth game, which obviously we lost, but it's the first night, so that was amazing. And the GB game.
I've got one. Yeah, I've got another one. But this is kind of on a really different reason. I was the only person that could take an under-18 men's team down to London because everyone else was on holiday. And it was Eddie and Danny.
That was the EuroLeague weekend.
It was, yeah, and the Trafalgar Square they set a basketball court. And it was just unbelievable. Like, Danny had never been on the tube before. No, I don't think they'd been to London before. And
Eddie, Danny, and Alan. Is that Alan?
Yeah, and Greenie. And we literally spent the whole day, and they ended up winning the tournament, the under-18, which was they got like a really big cup, and we went to Buckingham Palace to show the Queen, and we ended up in Covent Garden, and it was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. What, like 4 amazing young men, you know, just again, just kind of like, it's a really small example, but it reminds me why we have this massive army around us, because it's special, you know, what we've achieved all together. It's a really special thing. But yeah, that was a really special day and a special memory for me, because I wasn't even meant to be there, but they got the short straw and got me.
Guys, I really appreciate your time. Thank you it's been fascinating listening to you talk about all things, the foundation, things that stand out to me. I think the army of people you keep mentioning, like just the kind of the amount of people involved in the club and the foundation is just it's brilliant to see. Yeah, I really appreciate your time, and thank you very much.
And can I just say thank you to everyone who has been on this path and journey, and everyone who is waiting for those doors to open again. And you know, I look forward to seeing everyone back there when we're allowed to.
Mark and everybody that's getting engaged with your page. I think you're doing a great job.
Thank you.
And there are others out there as well. I've noticed.
It really is to encouraging. There's more popping up every day as well.
Good.
I applaud.
We need it.
I applaud that, and we're more than happy to help anyone that wants to spread the word,
Mm-hmm.
the Eagle.
Okay. Right. Thank you very much.
All right, cheers. Take
Bye.
care. Bye.
Bye.